name is Ashleigh, and I'm the Youth Public Services Librarian here at the Mechanicsville branch of the Pamunkey Regional Library. And today we're bringing you Storytime at Home. And if you can see behind me, today we're talking about libraries or books that focus on libraries, take place in libraries, things like that. I also have my librarian sweatshirt on. So I'm excited about these books. Before we go ahead and start reading, let's go ahead and do our hello song, which is The More We Get Together. So on the count of 3. So 1, 2, 3. The more we get together, 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 the more we get together, the happier we'll be. 'Cause your friends are my friends and my friends are your friends. The more we get together, the happier we'll be. Yay! Awesome job! So I have 2 books with me today. We have a library book for Bear, and then we also have Wild About Books. I think we'll go ahead and get started with a library book for Bear. So this is by Bonnie Becker. It's illustrated by Katie McDonald Denton. So a library book for Bear. Hopefully you can see the pictures. They're kind of lightly colored. Ooh. Okay, we'll start here. Bear had never been to the library. He had 7 very nice books at home. 3 about kings and queens, 3 about honeybees, and 1 about pickles. Bear was quite sure he had all the books he would ever need. So you see his books here. One morning, Bear heard a tap-tap-tapping on his door. And does he look happy to hear a tapping at his door? No, he looks a little upset, like he wants to be left alone. When he opened the door, there was Mouse, small and gray and bright-eyed. We are off, explained Mouse with a happy wag of his whiskers. Bear frowned. He had agreed to go with Mouse to the library, but now he was quite sure that it was a dreadful mistake. Completely unnecessary, Bear announced. I have all the books I need right here. So you can see Mouse is down here, Bear is here, of course. These pages are really hard to turn. Oh, there are many delightful books in the library, Mouse assured him. Huh, Bear grumbled, but he had promised. So he buckled up his red roller skates and stepped outside, grabbing a basket for the books. Have you ever seen a bear traveling on red roller skates? I haven't. Bear skated and Mouse rode in the basket to the library. The wind rippled nicely through their fur. And we can see them traveling here, right? Bear still looks like he might be a little grumpy. Mouse looks like he's having a lot of fun. So let's see what happens when they get to the library. But when they got to the library, Bear didn't like how big it looked. There are far too many books in there, he protested. Most excessive. Oh no, it's quite exciting, Mouse said, leading Bear through the tall doors. In the library were more books than Bear had ever thought there could be. He quickly found a tucked-away corner, but even there were lots and lots of books. Huh, terribly extravagant. Bear's voice was a little too loud. Right? Because in the library we gotta be not necessarily quiet, but like a little, because there are other people in the building. I shall find you the perfect one, Mouse said quietly in his library voice. One about Pickles, commanded Bear. After all, he only had one of those. But Mouse had whisked away, so he's gone, off looking for a book about Pickles. Mouse came back with a thick green book. Bear opened it. Rocket ships? Ridiculous! Bear's voice was getting louder. A good book about Pickles is all I require. Remember, quiet in the library, murmured Mouse as he scurried off. He soon returned with a tall yellow book. I am not interested in wooden canoes. Bear's voice was even louder. Quiet voices in the library, Mouse reminded him. So Bear hasn't quite found anything he liked yet. Whoa. You think he might be yelling by the size of the letters on the page compared to down here? My voice is always quiet, Bear shouted. I will find my own book. I can assure you that Pickles are quite interesting. Mouse didn't look so sure, but Bear quickly spotted a blue book with a pickle on the spine, and Mouse sprang on the shelf to get it for him. And can you see the book on the shelf here with the pickle on it? It's going to be right up here at the top. Inside were pictures of Pickles. The Pickles had little fairy wings, and they were dancing with petunias. No dancing Pickles, Bear roared. Shh, said a voice. Oh my goodness. Look at those dancing Pickles. And they're dancing with petunias, which if you don't know are flowers. So very whimsical. So a voice says shush. Any guesses as to who it might be? It's not Mouse, right? Maybe it's the librarian. Let's find out. Bear peeked around a bookshelf. There sat a librarian with a cluster of youngsters gathered around her. The librarian smiled, but a mother squirrel squished an angry finger against her lips, and an old raccoon said sternly, "Quiet in the library." You can see all these different characters. So here's the old raccoon, and here's the mother squirrel. We've got some badgers, some foxes, a bunny, a beaver, I think. And here, of course, is our librarian. Bear turned back with a huffy sniff. I know when I'm not wanted, he told Mouse. I want to go home. Surely at least one book, Mouse began, but Bear cut him off. I have all the books I need. He looked quite certain. Then we are off, said Mouse, but his whiskers didn't wag this time. And he's looking pretty sad, right? Our friend Mouse. Bear stood stock still. He was listening carefully to a voice on the other side of the bookshelf. So the very brave Bear began to inch his way toward the treasure chest, the voice was saying. I'm ready, began Mouse. Shh, exclaimed Bear. It's just getting to the good part. But you said, uh-oh. All right, so what's happening? So Bear wanted to leave, and Mouse was like, that's fine, we can go. And then it kind of seems like Bear gets really interested in whatever the librarian's talking about, right? Kind of sounds like he got really invested in Storytime. Whoa! He is screaming. He says, quiet voices in the library, Bear bellowed. Whoa. It's maybe not the best example of using your library voice. This time, the librarian got up and looked around the bookshelf at Bear. Bear stood very still and quiet, as if he had been still and quiet all along, which we know that he hasn't. "Would you like to join Storytime?" the librarian asked. Bear glanced at Mouse. "We'd love to have you," said the librarian. Bear and Mouse scooted around the shelf and found 2 empty chairs, and the librarian began to read again. Bear lifted the lid to the treasure chest, and inside, the librarian paused. Mouse and Bear strained forward, so they're leaning forward to hear what's inside this treasure chest. What do we think's inside? Treasure? Treasure. Inside, she said, was a mound of pickle slices, and each shining slice was made of diamonds and gold, and everyone shouted, "Hooray for the very brave Bear!" And then she said, "The end." Bear stared dreamily into space for a moment. Then he looked over at Mouse and announced, "As I said, pickles are most interesting." "Indeed," said Mouse. Later, Mouse rode in the basket with 7 new books. There were 2 about wooden canoes, 2 about rocket ships, 2 about teapots, and now let's see. So there are 7 new books. So there are 2 about wooden canoes, there are 2 about rocket ships, and I might have to hold my book down here, and there are 2 about teapots. So how many books are left? There's another one we haven't talked about, right? So it's 6, 7, so there's 1 other book, and what do you all think that book is going to be about? Do you think maybe it's the book that the librarian read at Storytime? Maybe it's about pickles? So, 2 about wooden canoes, 2 about rocket ships, 2 about teapots, and the one called "The Very Brave Bear and the Treasure of Pickle Island," which Bear read to Mouse that very same day. The end. So that's a library book for Bear. And you all know, especially if you came to Storytime and we could do it in person, that libraries have tons of books about all kinds of things. Things about canoes, rocket ships, and pickles, and just all kinds of stuff. And so I also want to read to you guys Wild About Books by Judy Sierra, and pictures are by Mark Brown. This is also a fun one. I think I say that about every book I read. So, Wild About Books. And these pictures are a little busier, so there's like a lot going on. It started the summer of 2002, when the Springfield librarian, Molly McGrew, by mistake drove her bookmobile into the zoo. Molly opened the door, she let down the stair, turned on the computer, and sat in her chair. At first, all the animals watched from a distance, but Molly could conquer the strongest resistance. So you've got Molly with her computer, and she's got a bookmobile, and those are really cool. They're like libraries on wheels. They're awesome. By reading aloud from The Good Dr. Seuss, she quickly attracted a mink and a moose, a wombat, an oryx, a lemur, a lynx, 8 elephant calves, and a family of skinks. So it's already getting pretty wild in this book, right? So she's getting all these animals to come and listen, a lot like we just saw in the library book for Bear. In a flash, every beast in the zoo was stampeding to hear all about this new something called reading. Whoa, that's a lot of animals. There's also like a monkey on a horse, like on the back of the horse. He kind of looks like he's surfing. I think it's pretty funny. Forsaking their niches, their nests, and their nooks, they went wild, simply wild about wonderful books. choosing thin books and fat books and cat in the hat books and new books and true books and heaps of how-to books. So they're reading all kinds of stuff. She's giving a banana cookbook to this monkey in the tree here. All kinds of things. This crocodile is reading Peter Pan, which I think is kind of funny if you remember the crocodile in Peter Pan. Giraffes wanted tall books, and crickets craved small books, while geckos could only read stick-to-the-wall books. The pandas demanded more books in Chinese. Molly filled their requests, always eager to please. She even found waterproof books for the otter, who never went swimming without Harry Potter. So you can see the pandas and the geckos here, the stick-to-the-wall books, the Harry Potter for otters. That's not great library etiquette. They kind of look like they're fighting over this book, but we'll look past it for now. Raccoons read alone, and baboons read in bunches, and llamas read dramas while eating their lunches. All those raccoons. If you guys watch my raccoon story time, you know how much I love raccoons. Hyenas shared jokes with the red-bellied snakes, and they howled and they hissed till their funny bones ached. A tree kangaroo who adored Nancy Drew began solving mysteries right there at the zoo, such as why were the bandicoots' books overdue? Goodness. She's helping out Molly the librarian, finding out why books are overdue. Gently, Molly taught lessons and treating books right. For the boa constrictor, squeezed Crictor too tight. Baby bunnies mucked up Goodnight Moon with their paws. Giant termites devoured the Wizard of Oz. And you can see them up here in this picture. They're just eating it. We don't eat our library books. That would be not great. And Bear's love of books was completely outrageous. They licked all the pictures right off of the pages. Goodness. Animals are going wild for books. Tasmanian devils found books so exciting that soon they had given up fighting for writing. They made up adventures so thrilling and new that the others decided to be authors too. Pythons wrote with their tails, penguins wrote with their bills, and porcupines wrote with their very own quills. At the new insect zoo, bugs were scribbling haiku. The scorpion gave each a stinging review. And I love that the giant hissing cockroach here, his haiku is just hiss, 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 hiss. It's just hissing. I love it. As the cheetah's new novel began to take shape, he read chapters each night to the bearberry ape. And although the gazelle couldn't spell very well, like everyone else, she had stories to tell. Imagine the hippo's enormous surprise when her memoir was given the Zulitzer Prize. So with many new books, Molly knew what to do. She hired 12 beavers, a stork, and a gnu to build a library branch there at the zoo. Then the animals cried, "We can do it ourselves. We can check the books out. We can put them on shelves." And they did and they do up to this very day. 3 cheers for the zooberry. Hip, hip, hooray. So they built their own library right there at the zoo, just for the animals. When you visit the zoo now, you surely won't mind if the animals seem just a bit hard to find. They're snug in their niches, their nests, and their nooks, going wild, simply wild, about wonderful books. So you've got the lion, you've got, you've got a zebra, you've got some raccoons, some birds snuggled up with a book. that is the end. So that is Wild About Books. So we read 2 books that take place in or around libraries, right? Because they build a library, and then of course Bear and Mouse go to the library as well. Yeah. So that's story time at home for me, for today. Before we go, let's sing our goodbye song, which is also The More We Get Together, what we sang at the top. So on the count of 3, so 1, 2, 3. The more we get together, 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 the more we get together, the happier we'll be. 'Cause your friends are my friends and my friends are your friends. The more we get together, the happier we'll be. Yay! Awesome job! Alright, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!